Today we're going to talk about kit lenses for Sony and what should be your kit lens. Currently, Sony designates the 28-60, which is a variable zoom that starts at f4 to 5.6 as a kit lens. It could be better. Don't get me wrong, it's a great lens in size and sharpness. However, it doesn't let in much light. And to be frank, in this era of new shiny things from Sony, it's not quite wide enough. The Tamron 17-50mm f4, the Tamron 20-40mm f2.8, and the Sony 20-70mm f4 are lenses that are significantly wider. They're not overly large, and they can be priced reasonably. These lenses can produce a decent amount of background blur, which makes everything look a little more beautiful, like having one too many drinks. So why would you pick the 17-50 over the 20-40 over the 20-70? And it depends. In this video, I'll help you decide how to navigate one lens over the other. Chapters in the description. Okay, let's talk about range. The 20-40 has the least amount of range. 20 is near tail end of ultra-wide. However, 40 is not that telephoto. However, it does have f2.8 at 40. The 20-70 has a whopping 30mm more length. The 17-50 only has 10 more millimeters in focal length. However, 3mm wider is quite a lot, squarely in the ultra-wide territory. To see this more clearly and to truly understand what's going on, you have to ask yourself, what is the point of an ultra-wide lens? And that is perspective distortion. You can distort reality like an overweight health guru. They all have subtle differences, all right? One is 20mm f2.8, one is 20mm f4, and one is 17mm f4. Distorting the foreground is what ultra-wide lenses is all about. While you may not care about this distortion factor, just notice that with these ultra-wide focal lengths, that it's always going to exist whether you like it or not, like a nagging wife. If you get too close, you may get some perspective distortion, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Landscape photographers often use this to enhance the foreground of the object that they're photographing. Some YouTubers like it as well. And it's generally easier working with an ultra-wide lens because it doesn't take much to reach out and touch it because it's close to you. At the tele end, you're looking to do portraits. And while these are not your typical portrait lenses, if you're looking for moderately blurred backgrounds, better than your typical kit lens. These lenses are fixed aperture lenses, and they're going to be 1 to 2 stops wider at f4 and f2.8. Most kit lenses end at f5.6. These lenses will give you that full frame look that you're after because you have a full frame camera. Having the full frame look is kind of awesome. When you're up close, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. The 40 will have more perspective distortion because it's a wider focal length. The 70mm, you have not only the better distance management, you're not going to be all up into someone's face, and it's not that long to work with. And on top of that, what you don't get aside from the blur is that you have the compression factor. While the 70mm is going to zoom in a scene, it's going to cut off a lot of the side view. Okay, so if there's a lot of clutter in the background, the 70mm is going to do the best at isolation. For vlogging, it's going to be 17mm f4, 20mm f2.8, 20mm f4. Because these are wide angles, and it's my opinion that there's not going to be too much of a different look, except for 17mm. It is significantly wider. But in terms of bokeh, background blur, there's not going to be a whole lot. All of these lenses will do some background blur. So if you're focused on your face, or if you're focused on the background instead of your face, you will look out of focus. In my opinion, they're all acceptable. 17mm is quite a bit wider. And if you're in tight spaces and you have to do a vlog sitting down in a restaurant on a small table, then 17mm is going to help out a lot in that scenario. Next up, we'll talk about the usage of these lenses. All three of these lenses are weather sealed, and that is amazing. The 20-40 is clearly the smallest of the bunch. The 17-50 and 20 to 70 weigh roughly the same. However, the 20 to 70 is a bit shorter and compact and a bit longer when extended. The 17 to 50 is a fixed size. It doesn't extend or retract at all. It's internal zooming. The size stays the same no matter what focal length you're at, which may or may not be better for gimbals. That's neither here nor there. These are not that large of a lens, so your gimbal might work out with a 20 to 70. It just really depends. If you're using a really small gimbal, then yeah, the 17 to 50 is going to be a major advantage. But another thing about the usage is that the 20 to 40 f2.8 does not have any buttons. It's plain Jane. Okay, so the 17 to 50 on the other hand, it has a single button, which can be nice because now you could program the AF on off on that lens. The 20 to 70 is an all-out G lens. It has the button and it has a AF MF switch. You can click or declick the aperture ring, and of course it has an aperture ring. So let's talk about the price. The Tamron 20 to 40 and 20 and 17 to 50, they come in, I believe both of them are $699, and that is a ridiculously good price. It's not that far from the MSRP of the kit lens, which is $500 or a lot less if you get it with the kit. But the 20 to 70 costs quite a bit more. It is $10.99, I believe, is how much I paid for it. It does cost a bit more, and at that price, you can get the 24 to 105. You can get the 16 to 35 as well. They all cost around that much, but if you're going to get a single lens, it's probably going to be 20 to 70. It just makes a whole lot more sense, in my opinion. So the price is quite a bit more for the lens, and the advantage is that you're getting a lens with more control, and then you're getting a lens that is capable of the 120 frames on the A9 Mark III, is capable of 30 frames per second on the A1s, is capable of 20 frames per second on the older A9 IIs and A9s, is capable of breathing compensation, is capable of better IBIS, which isn't talked about much because it's kind of hard to even notice it unless you have two of them that you use often side by side. Yeah, the 20 to 70 has very smooth IBIS combined with the camera. It's just a Sony thing. So the price, you pay more, you get more. However, you're still not exactly the same because you may prefer 17, you may prefer f2.8. So my final thoughts is that when you first go into the Sony full frame system, I think it's best to buy it without a lens because you want a lens. I mean, these lenses, they offer so much. They're just so incredibly good and fun to use, and they can actually produce an image or a video look that is more what you would expect from a full frame camera. Each of these lenses, they have their advantages, and to be frank, it is even difficult for me as an influencer to pick out one of these lenses. And so I figure it's probably difficult for a lot of people to pick it out. However, there are some things to take note of. The 20 to 40 is significantly smaller. So if you're looking for something that's ultimately small, 100 grams is a noticeable amount. And you have to be aware of the compromises. It's not going to have the most focal range. It has the least amount of focal range. However, it accelerates because it's f2.8. It's going to be better in low light, and that might be your thing. On top of that, f2.8 is going to give you more background blur, so it might be better for people, but in my opinion, it's not. That 40 millimeter perspective just doesn't give the punch of 50 millimeters, or definitely not 70 millimeters. So next up would be the 17 to 50 or the 20 to 70. And between them, okay, so the price is going to be a huge gap. So if you have to have it all, you're going to pay for the Sony, or if you have a high-end body, you're going to pay for the Sony, but you'll never get 17 millimeters, and 17 millimeters might matter more than the additional 20 millimeters on the long end. My perspective is that 17 to 50, I mean, both of these lenses are going to be good for landscapes and for people. However, the 17 to 50 is going to be better for landscapes. It's just wider. and you need more perspective distortion. There's no way around it. I mean, that's my line of thought at least, is that you want that perspective distortion. So that 17 to 50 is going to be better for landscapes, and 50 is still decent for human subjects, while the 20 to 70 is not as wide, but it's no frills. Well, it has a lot of frills, and it is a non-stop good lens. I mean, it is just incredibly sharp. The bokeh is smooth, and the focus is ultra fast. And that lens, 20 might be wide enough. It might be your sweet spot. And 70 can still give the most flattering out of all these lenses. It gives the most flattering look, in my opinion. And being that it does 70 pretty well, the 70 also gets close. While I don't believe the Tamarons get as close on the long end. They get close on the wide end. Either way, it doesn't get as magnified as 70 can on the 20 to 70. So at the end of the day, I mean, the 20 to 70 is more preferable for people. The 17 to 50 is more preferable for landscapes. Both do people and landscapes just perfectly fine. You're arguing over the smallest little advantages, but then again, it's your money, right? So you can make those decisions. And the 20 to 40, I feel like that the size advantage is not just small, it's very noticeable. And that's why I typically use that for travel. Anyhow, tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you Sony with the extra dollars and the Sony perks, or are you a tightwad Asian Tamron user that is happy with what you got? Or maybe do you own both of them like a crazy guy with camera? Anyhow, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Take care.